Do you ever feel stuck, like you're living your life on autopilot? Are you ready to shift into high gear and reach the success you so richly deserve? Welcome to the Play Big Movement podcast. I am your host, Sharon Lechter, entrepreneur, business strategist, and best-selling author. Playing big is not about settling for good enough or being comfortable. It is about reaching your highest potential and achieving your greatest success. Join me in my Play Big movement as I interview top experts in business, money, and entrepreneurship, all ready to serve you and to help you play big, be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact. Welcome to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast with Sharon Lechter. I'm delighted today to talk to you about motivation. It's a buzzword, you hear it a lot, but there are those mornings when Mike and I wake up and go, oh my gosh, we just don't have the energy we need to start the day. And yet most of my life I was willing to, I was able to jump out of bed, ready to go. I was so motivated. I thought, let's talk about those motivation killers, because there are quite a few. And as we talk about it, I want you to think about which ones pertain the strongest to you. Demotivating, I call it. One of the I talk a lot about is fear. Outwitting the devil helps us deal with that fear. But fear tends to paralyze us, not motivate us. And so I help people identify the fear, where it came from, so they can release it and then allow that fear to turn into anxiousness and energy and excitement. So it can actually turn into motivation. A lot of times we aren't motivated because we haven't set the right goals. Or we've set a really big goal, a big BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, and it's just so far out that we lose the motivation to get there. And so that's why I always talk about little wins, setting small goals on the way to that big goal. Because what happens is when you achieve that small goal, you can celebrate, and that gives you internal motivation to keep going. You feel a little taller, you feel more successful. So if you're one that might have those big lofty goals, let's start setting some smaller ones to help re-energize your motivation. And a lot of times it's lack of clarity, not really knowing. In Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill talked about it as drifting. Well, when you're drifting, it's hard to have motivation. You're laying on the couch, you're watching TV, you're just like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And that's because you don't have a clear vision of what you want. And so going back to writing down goals as to where you want to be, where you want to accomplish, helps a lot. And a lot of times we're in an area working with others where we have different values. I've certainly experienced that and had to leave a successful company because of it. So ask yourself, are you doing something with someone whose values don't align? That's a motivation killer every single time. Be honest with yourself. And look for people whose values do align with you. Because when they do, then you guys are both pointed in the same direction, wanting the same outcomes. It's pretty magical. And a lot of times you've reached a certain level of success and you don't feel the challenge anymore. This happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. They get the business up and running and then the day-to-day stuff, and they just kind of lose the excitement, the motivation, of the challenge of what's next. And that's easy to fix. Push outside your comfort zone. Look at your successful company and look for a new market. Do things that really engage your creativity. Stepping outside your comfort zone works every single time. And you'll find that feeding back and giving you that motivation. But that lack of challenge, I see a lot with people who become a certain level of success and they can't break through that next barrier because they're comfortable. So make yourself uncomfortable by stepping outside your comfort zone. And then a lot of people, they lose their motivation because they're lonely. And that happened a lot in 2020 during the pandemic because people were so isolated. And it's easy to lose your motivation, to get depressed. You want to turn off the lights. Force yourself to reach out to people, even if it's virtually. Don't allow yourself to get lonely, because loneliness is definitely a motivation killer. Stay in contact with people. And you know what? There are a lot of other people out there that are lonely. So make established contacts with them. Make them feel better. And in the process, you're going to feel better yourself. And then sometimes it's just plain burnout. You've been working so hard for years. Things are good. They're going well, but you're just, you feel like you're just killing yourself. And that's when you need to take a step back and say, have I created the systems to build my business properly? Or am I still owning a job? When you find yourself owning a job instead of a business, it's burnout time. It causes definitely you to lose the motivation to keep moving forward. So I want to challenge you to look at your business, create those systems. Because when you start seeing a system work for you, oh my gosh, it gives you the motivation to keep going. I get so excited when I see the systems that we've created this year for my business, that I have the right people working with me and they're creating them. And I go, wow, you did that? That's cool. It makes me want to get out there and continue working hard because these systems have been created to support me. So don't get to the point of burnout. Look at what's causing it and start building in the structure to help you move in the right direction. And then, just like there's a lack of clarity and focus, a lot of times we're building, and certainly when the economy is crazy and we don't really know where it's going or what's going to happen, we're a little fuzzy about what to do. Do we get into the market? Do we get out of the market? We're not quite sure what the answer is. And so we get kind of stymied in what the next thing is. Stymied as to, what should I do? And that's when you start looking back at your vision, your goals, and focus on playing big, being number one in your field, living your legacy, creating maximum impact. Control what you can control, and you'll feel your motivation come back to you in spades. And so I want you to review each of these areas and ask yourself, what is my motivation killer? And how can I move forward and get rid of it and re-energize and refire my own motivation? Because motivation comes from external forces, but lives within you. And so there can be motivation coming in, but unless you really, truly internalize it and turn it into inspiration, it'll be short term. And so I want you to find the motivation that triggers your inspiration. And that inspiration is going to be the fuel to allow you to play a much bigger game, to be number one in your field, to live your legacy and create maximum impact. So take time to analyze this. Is it lack of clarity? Is it not knowing what the next steps are? Is it fear holding you back? Or is it complacency, a lack of challenge, loneliness? It could be a combination of those things. But once you identify them, you can start working on them. And you know what? You might actually identify it in other people and help them to overcome that. Fill them up with high test fuel so they can get moving in the right direction again. So I want you to go out and seek the motivation that's going to turn into inspiration in you. Thank you so much for listening to this segment. Join me in the private Facebook group as I'll continue talking about this subject for a bit. But thank you so much for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast with Sharon Lechter. Have a great day. Thank you for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Please subscribe to iTunes and leave us a review, as well as join us in other areas of social media, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Sharon Lechter, and for Facebook, author Sharon Lechter. Thank you so much and have a fabulous day.